On the trip, you said that when you started Electronic Arts, your original goal for the business was to develop simulation sports games that played as accurately as possible. Do you believe that modern-day EA Sports live up to that ambition? No, not really. There's no denying that the Man games are now so awful that they make us homesick for Madden games from 5 years ago that we didn't like at that time. Join me as we unfold the sad downfall of EA Sports. But before we get into it, do me a favour and smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button for notifications whenever a new video is published. It's all about money. It's about selling these DLCs and packs, and you know what we mean. Look at what happened with NBA Live. They continue to get shelved, and that whole market got taken over by 2K. You look at Madden, you know they had so many features back in the day. That is still in the game. Electronic Arts EA Sports division produces and develops sports video games. Originally a marketing gimmick by Electronic Arts to imitate real-life sports networks by naming themselves EA Sports Network and using pictures or endorsements of real commentators like John Madden, it grew up to become its sub-label, releasing games like NBA Live, FIFA, NHL, Madden, NFL, and NASCAR. The FIFA series is EA Sports' best-selling series, with over 100 million copies sold. EA Canada, an Electronic Arts studio in Burnaby, British Columbia, as well as EA Black Box in Vancouver, British Columbia, and EA Tiburon in Maitland, Florida, are responsible for the majority of the games under this brand. EA Sports is mostly in competition with 2K Sports. It's in the game, says EA Sports. This tagline, developed by Don Transith, written by Jeff Odiorn and Michael Wilde, and performed by Andrew Anthony, this voice of EA Sports has become a cultural rallying cry throughout the sports world. EA purchased Maxis Software, the creator of SimCity, in 1997, and maintained the Maxis name for many years as the producer of numerous successes, notably The Sims, which was the best-selling PC game ever in the early 2000s. Spore, a game in which players build and develop life forms in a virtual environment, was released in 2008 by EA's Maxis Studios. EA's vast catalogue also includes Medal of Honor, Ultima Online, Rock Band, and Burnout. During EA's period of rapid growth in the early 2000s, the company developed a reputation for acquiring development studios primarily for their intellectual property assets rather than their skill, and then forcing changes on the studio's work product that impacted the quality or scope of the game, or determining the studios were no longer necessary due to bad performances. This gave the impression that EA was treating games like an assembly line, rushing to get as much stuff out as quickly as possible, without regard for the content or the creative team behind the games. As a consequence of these commercial tactics, the company earned the nickname Evil Empire inside the video game industry. The way EA handled Origin Systems, the studio behind Ultima Games, is a prime illustration of this corporate strategy. Origin was purchased by EA in 1992. Despite the studio's creator Richard Garriott's objections, EA pressured Origin to complete 2 Ultima games, Ultima 8 Pagan and Ultima 9 Ascension. Both games got poor reviews when compared to the series' prior installments. In addition to this, Origin had created the popular Ultima Online. The company had begun work on Ultima Online 2 after the creation of Ultima 9, but due to poor sales of Ultima 9, EA shelved that project, leaving Origin mainly to maintain Ultima Online until EA chose to close the firm in 2004, transferring the remaining employees to other divisions within EA. Bullfrog Productions, Westwood Companies, Maxis, and Pandemic Studios are among the studios said to have been impacted by EA's management. By 2008, EA had begun to change its ways, partly as a result of hiring a new CEO, John Riccitiello. Riccitiello said in 2008 that the firm's previous acquisition methods were incorrect and that the company now gives acquired studios more autonomy without meddling with their corporate culture. In a statement in 2014, the firm's CFO, Blake Jorgensen, admitted that the previous approach was somewhat marginal in performance and that moving ahead, the business will likely cut down on acquisitions, allowing internal studios the chance to help create big games instead. Those who have worked at EA in the past and present shared this view. When ID Software's John D. Carmack announced that EA will publish their forthcoming game Rage in 2008, he stated that EA was no longer this evil empire. According to Carmack, I'll admit that years ago, if you asked me, I still thought EA was the evil empire, the company that smothers little companies. If you'd told me a year ago that we'd wind up with EA as a publisher, I'd have laughed. When we went out and spoke with individuals, particularly EU partners like Valve, we received nearly universally favourable reactions. In a 2014 interview, Peter Molyneux, the founder of Bullfrog, said that EA was not an evil empire, but acknowledged that when studios are acquired by companies like EA, the additional funds and support, such as larger offices, changes the flavour of the company and can lead to events that cause the studio to perform poorly. EA is always losing the PR battle. Many businesses are pursuing tactics that customers believe to be detrimental to the gaming industry. Always on DRM was pioneered by Ubisoft. Activision continues to charge $15 for remakes of previous material in map packs. Neither of them, though, generates nearly as much animosity as EA, which was chosen the worst business in America this year, a title they laughed off rather than taking seriously. Simply stated, there is a widespread impression that EA is an unlikable brand. Yes, it occurs with other large corporations as well, but it isn't nearly as severe as when fans voice their dissatisfaction with EA. Players accustomed to the more sophisticated Steam platform have been irritated with EA's new Origin gaming platform, and EA customer care conversations have been so comically inept at times that pictures of them have gone viral. It's questionable if EA deserves all of this criticism. Even though they create games that people like, they are regarded as the gaming industry's great evil due to how they treat their consumers, or at the very least, how the consumers believe they have been handled. Many people were turned off by the controversy around Mass Effect 3. Technically, this is a BioWare issue, but an EA issue is a BioWare problem. We don't think EA interfered to make Mass Effect 3 worse in any manner that some say, but even if it was entirely BioWare's fault, it reflects poorly on their brand. The game's inclusion of Day 1 DLC, which many considered crucial to gameplay, sparked controversy from the outset. It seemed to be a $10 fee to get access to material that should have gone with the game in the first place, and it put a bad taste in the mouths of fans almost straight away. Things truly went apart in the last catastrophe. The game's closing scenes seemed hurried and incomplete, leaving the vast majority of fans dissatisfied with the story's finale, which lacked any kind of closure. It may have been a ruse to promote future DLC, but it could simply have been a time constraint. ME3 had already been postponed, thus there may not have been enough time for a more completely fleshed out conclusion. That would make EA the one to blame. Between these two problems, BioWare lost a lot of fans and EA received a lot of backlashes from unhappy customers who thought they had polluted their once-loved company. EA and BioWare's relationship has been very difficult this year thanks to ME3 and SWTOR, and we're not sure how long they're going to be able to stay together. This seems to be disregarding the underlying reasons for EA's problems, and it's worth investigating into what's been so bad for them in the past year that may explain their gradual drop. Will EA Sports address the concerns with their users? Do you think EA Sports will solve these issues to maintain its brand? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications on our future content. With that being said, we'll see you in the next